Welcome to A Double
Double
and Dice
with your host Kim.
and Jocelyn.
Pour your favorite beverage
Pull up a comfy chair.
as we are ready to roll.
Welcome to episode 8 of A Double and Dice. And today we have another special guest with us who's joined us from St. Louis. And who is that guest, Jocelyn?
Today we're talking to Craig Huebner, and Craig is, I'm going to call him our number one fan. Because he's been at least our number one email fan. He's the fan of ours that has continued to email us regularly, and we really enjoy having chats with him by email, and we thought it would be great to have him on the show. So it took us a little bit to coordinate some logistics from a technical perspective, but welcome, Craig. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
And Craig and I sort of met briefly at Memphis last year for Worlds. Craig was there. I was there. We were, walking around each other, and we probably said hello, but I don't think that we had much of a chat while we were there. Lots of people, of course, to meet, right?
Yeah, and with us not really getting to directly play against each other, I hope I'm saying that, and now I'm trying to remember if
no, we didn't play.
Played any drafts. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and you were quite busy the day of Worlds in particular, as you made it all the way through to top 8.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I did appreciate that event as a whole. It was really great. But I was really there more for the drafts that they had. So I was actually trying to draft a whole lot more than I think, playing in the World's event. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the pricing in the drafts was pretty impressive, too. If you won your draft, you got those sweet animated X-Men promo cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many of those were you able to collect, Craig? Did you get a whole set?
I was able to get one of each of them. I am
super jealous because the only one that I got was the participation prize at Worlds because I lost every draft I played.
I got none, so I'm super jelly.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other part about it is that there's no real ability to get them. I don't think. Maybe I may be saying that out of ignorance, but with so few of them that I think went out and so few people that were able to get what they wanted out of it, it seemed like those were going to be pretty rare. But now with them really going out of rotation with the modern legal rotation, hopefully they really won't be too missed. But
yeah, the art was really cool, though. So for nothing else,
yeah.
So if WizKids is listening, hey Jimmy, if you're listening, hi. We would love I know I would love to see them continue to be prizes that are handed out. And I mean, historically, I've seen they continue to hand out old promos, right? So I helped put together some of the prizing at Worlds there towards the end, as I did not make the top cut there. So, but I was giving Ross and Steven a hand with that, and there was still lots of older promos that were being given out as prizes. So please, Jimmy, continue to print those because I would like a set.
Oh, absolutely.
As I think many people would, regardless of the fact that they've been rotated out. So, but that's awesome, and you did a fantastic job there at World. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, it was one of those things where I really feel that going top 8, and this is, I hope not to make this cheapened, being top 8 was the thing that I really was attempting to do because of the Jubilee Mall Rat alternate art card was the new print of a card that I really was there going after also. And so to be able to make it into the top 8 really was everything for me that day. That's was the ultimate for me. But because of Troy Miller, and truly because of how fun it was to play against Troy and to really just have fun playing the game, that top 8 game was just wonderful. Being able to play with Troy, that was so much fun. So I really enjoy the events for the fun of being able to play with people, like Troy, Orange Lucan, Andy, and when his daughter was at other events in the past, being able to play with people like that, it's just so much fun to be there.
Yeah, it was my first time coming down to the US to play in an event, and I met lots of great people. Some people I already knew from playing online, and then other people I didn't because they haven't played online or we haven't crossed paths before, but everyone was fantastic, and every game that I played was super fun. And I played in all of the events as well as some drafts, and I was lucky enough to get into the preview draft there too, so that was quite fun to play with some of those upcoming cards.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Jocelyn, is there any chance that you actually got to play in both preview drafts, or did you get into just one?
Just one. Okay. And I got into the one thanks to our fellow DM Norther here, Matt Jourdain. So he was already in the preview draft for Sunday when he had another ticket that got drawn. So he kindly gave that one to me so that I could get into the preview draft, which is why I had to give him my rare Spider-Man prototype. I didn't have to, but I felt that it was the nice thing to do because it's a pretty cool card, the rare Spider-Man. When you attack with him, you can roll a character die to any energy phase, target character die. And I used that to great effect against Ben in that preview draft, which I still lost that game. But just the look on Ben's face when that happened, he was quite surprised that I could do something like that, and it was quite entertaining. But I did get him down to like 3 life before he beat me, so I still feel pretty good about that. And seeing as he is the official, unofficial world champion, I don't feel so bad about losing that game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and so did the prototype stay as is then for our next set coming out? It's going to be the same card, well, maybe different art or maybe something. But
everything we've seen on the Spider-Man cards has been the same. I know there's at least one card because Laurier, who was also there from DM North from here in Canada, was also in the preview draft, and he has one card. I'm not sure which one it is, but he has a prototype card that has different art than what the final card has been shown in the spoilers. So there has been some art changes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's a rare card to have.
Yeah. Well, I think all the prototype cards are quite rare. So, did you get to do any of the preview drafting, Craig?
No, I didn't even come close. When they were reading off the ticket numbers and the raffle, the raffle to choose who, I would never even came close. So,
but it was a really fun weekend of Dice Masters.
Yes, yeah, it was. That was a great event, and with the world the way it is, I really do wonder what October will hold for us in opportunities. Do you guys see, or is there any kind of predictions from you guys on what October will be?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if much people would be traveling still come October. So I think they would, if they do it and they go online, I think they would have a bigger turnout.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, the event was a wild success, right? WizKids had said that. They've said that the event was more successful than they could have imagined, and they were looking forward to doing it again. But of course, with the pandemic, and here we are, we're recording this at the end of May, and I know here in Canada we've basically been on, lockdown, self-isolation, whatever you want to call it, shelter in place, whatever phrasing you use, since the middle of March. And at least where we are, where Kim and I are in the Toronto area, it's still very the virus is still very prevalent, and we're still at the very, very beginnings of our potential reopening. So I don't know when travel might be permitted. So as much as I hope that something will happen in October, I just, there's part of me that feels like nothing's going to happen until 2021. What's your sense, Craig, being in the U.S.?
Well, and that's where I wish I could feel that I have a legitimate opinion, because I don't think anybody could really say what's going to go on. The things that I kind of judge it against, or that I think about, is the recent announcement of Gen Con. And I know that Gen Con is not a convention that WizKids was going to be really involved with at all this year, but Gen Con is such a big industry, or it seems like such a big event for a year, that with Gen Con being canceled in August, that the movement of Origins Game Fair from the June date, and then they postponed it to the October weekend that WizKids is slated to have the event in Memphis, with the two now happening the same days, essentially. I still kind of think that October date is wishful thinking, or real hoped for, but I personally don't think that there'll be enough relief from the virus and enough understanding of really how to be protective in the real social interactions that happen with playing games versus the social distancing desired to be able to have those events. But I hope I'm totally wrong. I hope it's much better by then.
I hope that we're all wrong and that things are better by then, and because it would be a real shame to miss out on that this year if that's the case. But at the same time, if it means that people are safer, then I think it's what we have to do, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But yeah, I think though, Kim, did you say something about moving it online?
Yeah. I think if they move it online, the ability is out there to do it. I think they would get a lot more people participating. For those who can't travel and come out to those events, at least if they do it online, those people would participate. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get a higher participation, I think. I know it's not the same. I never experienced the Worlds like you guys did. I never went. I just went to the Canadian Nats, which is a hop, skip, and a drive over, right? It's not too long. But I think being in person is different, and interactions are, you get to socialize and talk with people and talk dice and masters and all that stuff. But I think participation wise, if they go online, I think it would be a lot more people coming out.
Yeah, and I think the challenge with online from a big event perspective, and I think this is, and again, I have no inside insight to WizKids or anything like that, but would be, how do you judge, right? How do you have enough judges available? How do you have enough, Google Hangouts rooms available? How do you manage technical challenges? And the community itself has done a pretty good job of that, just, in the last couple of years, with all of the online events that are out there, right? You've got Ross and the Weekly Dice Arena on Tuesday nights. You've got James with DM United and the Dice Fight on Thursday nights. You've got Chris and Rob's Game Room that put on their 2-team takedown tournaments and their monthly one-shot tournaments online. And they've come up with a way to, build the matchups and challenge and use all this technology to do that. And the judge is just a DM away, just a direct message away. And if you look at sort of what just recently happened, just this past weekend, 2 weekends ago, we had the One Big Weekend, which was organized by Urge and Lucan over at rollingthunder.xyz, no apostrophe, no G. And, they put on this big event. They split it into two different brackets, I guess we'll call them, a European bracket and a North American bracket. But the timing of the two brackets overlapped, and there was like 30 some odd players, maybe 35 players potentially, I think, that played in this event, which is almost the same number that came to Memphis, right? And they were able to run it quite smoothly if North America, or if Chris over at the Ministry of Dice is to be believed. On his recent podcast, he said it went really smoothly. There weren't very many technical issues. So it's just the preparation piece, right?
Yeah. And I think if they go down that road, it will be a lot of setup on their part. Just as you said, getting rooms together and judges and all that stuff. But they might still have to split it between like Europe and North America. And if you could play in both, you play in both. I know the time difference is 5 hours, 6 hours, depending where you are.
Yeah, I mean, there's challenges for sure, but I think, I don't know, this might just be my work me coming around, is that every challenge is an opportunity, right? How do you take that, challenge or something that could be, your deal breaker, and turn it into a positive and a way to do that? And I think this community that we are in of Dice Masters is really good at that, because we love this game so much. We're going to do whatever we can to play it, and we're going to figure it out, right? So, I think there are opportunities there, and it's just a matter of figuring it out. But I think, at least in the short term, online is going to be probably the only way we can play this game. Like, the restrictions here in Canada, there's no opportunity to play it live yet, and really no date, at least in the Ontario, Toronto area, where that might possibly be happening. And I think in the US it's probably very similar.
Yeah. So Kim, if WizKids was going to consult with you, your initial thought on what a championship weekend would look like, what would you really want to see? What would you really say they should think about doing?
Good question. Now, are you talking like setup, or are you talking more running it?
I guess really more just overall event. So, because we have the modern format, right? The recent change, May 1st, of modern. But then there's the Golden Age formats, the global escalation format. Drafting, I would think, is not even an option at all. No. But so what would you want to see WizKids do for an event?
Well, I think if they do go online, I think it still has to be like a 3-day weekend thing. I mean, if you're going to do all those side events and stuff, you can't do it all in one day. So it'll have to be a 3-day weekend. Or how did they do it in Worlds? It was 3-day, right?
3 days, yeah.
Weekend? Yeah. So I think they would have to keep it to that. And I think they'll still probably have to keep it modern. Just for new players out there, I don't think Golden, for them, they won't really have those cards or anything like that. So I think they'll have to stick it to modern. So they'll have to play probably their main event as a modern event. Just for the ease of new players. And we've been getting, I think, a lot of new players playing online recently, on Tuesdays or on Thursdays or Saturdays when those go on. And any side events, I think the same that they usually have before. Was it 10 by 10, global escalation? You're right. They can't do draft. It's just it's not possible.
Drafting would be a big challenge.
Yeah.
I know that some really technically savvy, fantastic IT type folks have built, Truby in particular, I think, built the draft pack generator. And you can draft, but I just don't think that it's feasible in an online event. I don't think it's good enough. And I'm not trying to tear down what they've done. I think they've done a fantastic job with the online draft pack generator. I just think that it's going to be very challenging. So, for an event like that. So drafting would probably have to be out if it was an online event. That would be my 2 cents.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is a shame because I was looking, and I guess I should say I am still looking forward to drafting the new stuff when it comes out, and when we're able to be in person again at game stores and comic stores and places that we can play. Because Infinity Gauntlet looks super fun, and the cards that I've played with so far have been awesome. And I think it's really going to shake up the meta.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And with that next set, that next release being in draft packs, do you guys have, like, Jocelyn, do you have a preliminary plan or idea of what you're going to do with the game when that release happens?
No. I look at the spoilers, but I don't really, for me, until I have a card in my hand and I can play with it, I'm not one of those people that can look at a card and figure it out from what it is online and proxy it and try and figure out how that card works. I need to have it in front of me to play with it. So I do want to play with those cards. I want to draft with those cards, and I want to open up a bunch of new stuff and play with some cool new cards and see how they focus in. But right now, I'm still getting my head around D&D and WWE. I don't know about you, Craig.
Oh yeah. No, I'm lacking actually in really understanding D&D and WWE sets because I have not played since the World's Tournament because I just really have been so lazy about understanding online play that I haven't been able to play at all.
Do you own those sets? Do you have them? Or?
Oh yeah. One of the things that I've been incredibly lucky with is that because I was able to really see the game come out with the very first set, the first release of Avengers versus X-Men, I've been able to purchase or play in events to win a few of the cards, but I've actually purchased probably a lot of the prize cards that have been out there. So I've actually been able to collect pretty much all of the English versions of cards that have been released in the United States, just because of my history of being with the game from week one of the release. And so when the draft packs come out for Infinity Gauntlet, I do plan to purchase the countertop displays that I feel would give me the solid start to collecting those cards, and then I hope to fill in whatever gaps I will have of cards I need through going to events or hopefully participating in drafts if they're possible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I do plan to collect them all the cards from Infinity Gauntlet and see what happens. But I mean, Kim, how do you think the game's really going to be impacted with having the next set be draft packs and the world what it is?
I don't mind. Like, okay, everything was drafts before, like the packs and everything like that, and you buy a booster box, and the only problem I ever had with that is completing your set, or if you're a collector and trying to complete the sets or get your max dice. But it's finding or getting the cards you actually want that that people have been playing. It's the meta card, or it's just cards you want. That's the only ever problem I had with those things. I know out there's a lot of trading, and I got this card and this guy, which is great. I've traded a couple with a few people. You kind of finish your collection that way, but I always find that's the drawback. you end up getting duplicates. You end up getting, which is fine again for trading, or too much dice or whatnot. Um, that's the only, not the problem, but the only drawback I saw to it, right? It's just now you want to find that one card, the Spider-Man one, right, Jocelyn, that you're totally looking for.
I will
um,
find that card.
and you're just hoping someone pulled a duplicate or has a duplicate and you have a card they need because they didn't pull it and you're able to do a trade, right? I know a lot of people find the fun in that. Don't take me wrong, I'm not like bashing trading or anything like that. I've done it. I've done a lot of it in the past to get cards that I want or need. But it's just, that's the only drawback to it. Other than that, I don't mind it. I don't mind campaign boxes. I like that everybody has the same set. Everybody works off that set. And away you go. I mean, with draft packs, not everybody has the cards. And then they're like, oh, that's a cool card. And now they don't have it. Now they're trying to hunt down for it. So, but other than that, it doesn't really bother me that they go from drafts to back to campaign boxes or CCG to LCG and then back to CCG, and it doesn't, that stuff doesn't really bother me. That's what they want to do. That's what the game's going down the road, and you just have to adjust to that.
Yeah.
I think that it would be a good setup if WizKids can make it work. And they've done it with HeroClix, right? So with HeroClix, you have Fast Forces, and then you have blind product, right? So you can buy a package of 5 or 6 clicks with potentially a map and some dice sometimes, and you can just play, right? You've got enough stuff to play, which is kind of how I see a campaign box or a team pack. And then there's blind product where, you know, you get your gravity feed or you go to your draft and you draft your blind product with rarity. And they've done a really good job with that with HeroClix. And I have said before, and I will say again, that I think that that's a great way to do this game, right? To have both.
Oh, yeah. Well, and do you think with the announcements for the year then being draft packs with one more campaign box, do you think that that's good balance for the game then? Do you think that that product expectation for the year is gonna really fit well with having new players and experienced players all kind of being together?
You know, I think that the move to campaign boxes brought in new players because there were certain players that didn't want to collect stuff. And at the same time, there were players that have stopped playing because collecting and drafting was how they loved this game. So I don't know how WizKids supply chain works or how their pieces work from that perspective. If they have the ability to do both, I hope that they do. If it's going to be a back and forth thing, then that's cool too. You know, maybe you have a year of drafting type stuff, draft packs, and then a year of campaign boxes, and balance it out with, you know, regular rotations. As long as everyone can get access to what they need. That was the really nice part about campaign boxes and team packs, is that everyone was on a level playing field and you didn't have to chase down the super awesome, super rare. Everybody had access to the same stuff. Now, with that said, we all know that not all of the super rares in Dice Masters are super awesome. Some of them are barely playable. But for that collectible person like myself, like I had so much. My first set that I collected was Uncanny X-Men. And I had so much extra of that. I probably had 2 or 3 sets of extra commons and uncommons from trying to collect it, just trying to get that last super rare, buying a pack every time I came across it, which I finally did. I have all of the cards from that set now. But yeah, it's. I think it's interesting. I think it will be good if WizKids can find that balance with this game, similar to what they've done with HeroClix, because I think it would be great if we can have that drafting level as well as the collectible, the non-collectible piece. What are your thoughts on it, Craig?
No, I'm with you 1,000% on that. Campaign boxes are a good thing. I've really enjoyed when I was able to play with like Justice League X-Men Forever for a little while, when there was still a community or ability for people to get together in St. Louis to play and to use those. I really liked that part of the game, is to what are you going to really pull out of the campaign boxes and brew together to have a good team. I just really hope that I'll call it a regrowth of the game can happen after the normalcy comes from the pandemic, that will involve more in-person play for areas like St. Louis, because I do understand being able to really build a community through online play, have people enjoy it, and that somebody like me would need to just not be lazy anymore and just start understanding technology. But to be able to have a game that really can be played at a get-together because people really want to play it together, like I had experienced in the past. That's really what I'm hoping for happens with the new draft form abilities, versus the campaign boxes just seem to have a sense of, if you're an experienced player who really understands what the game is and how you can brew a team, you come to an event with a call it best team possible to really beat up on an opponent, so to speak, versus when you draft, everybody kind of starts with that ability of luck of the draw, that maybe not be the most positive thing for everybody, but it is a leveler of playing fields of, did you get luck of the draw for something? And then if you're past something that can really synergize well with it and can be brewed well, hey, you can be really successful on the day, but, somebody else may take the good stuff, from packs before it gets to you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think drafting really helps for me anyway, and drafting was not how I learned this game. Rob and I figured out how to play this game by watching YouTube videos and reading the rule book, and then we didn't draft until much later. But I found that once I started drafting, I became a better player because it was easier for me to build teams, and it was easier for me to see synergies. And people that are really good at draft, I think, have an advantage in this game because they can sort of think on their feet a little bit better, maybe, and adapt to how the cards are being played, or something across the table from you and constructed is something you're not familiar with. You might have been familiar with it in draft potentially. So there's different levels there. So I think drafting does help people become better players.
yeah.
I just like to read the text, and the card art looks cool.
Yeah. Well, an Infinity Gauntlet has really been designed to be a draftable set, right? So that's, there's a lot of abilities in there that synergize really well. They've got some new keywords, right? They've got Rush and Recruit have been spoiled. Don't ask me what they both do right now. Rush, I think, is sort of like inset ramp. Like if you pull a die with Rush and a similar, whatever the Rush ability is, you get to draw an extra die or something to that effect. And with Recruit, you can field or prep something. So there's some sort of inset, unique ramp and churn type mechanics. So it looks pretty cool, and I'm sure someone will correct us if we're not we're not able to get that right.
Yeah. Well, so what was this? what was the scene really like in the Toronto area for you two? Were you guys regularly playing in events there in Toronto before the world changed, or were you guys really playing online in Toronto?
For me, I saw the game, and if you've heard, I saw the game on Watch It Played, and I liked it, and I was playing kind of by myself. I started looking on Board Game Geek and found some people who were playing it locally. So online wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even know about that. Um, and that's when I went out and started playing locally and getting to know the game and how to play the game and losing a lot because I didn't know a lot of the card abilities and what they do and globals. I was like, what's globals? That's such no, I'm not playing with globals, and learned that globals really do help you. And that's obviously where I met Jocelyn and Rob and Reg and everyone. And then I can't remember when really we learned about the online scene. Um, Maybe it was joining through the Discord at that point. I can't remember.
I think Discord was where it really became a big thing. But like, so when, I know we've had this conversation before, but when, I don't remember, was it 2017, I think, that I started playing with you?
I think so, yeah.
So it was 2016 probably when I picked up the game, and again, it was just me and Rob, and the two of us playing each other, and we didn't even know there were people playing it in game stores. And by the time we found out that there were like events, most of the Dice Masters events had sort of died out and people had shifted on to other games. There was still Nationals, and we had dropped into Nationals when it was in Toronto. We didn't play, we just dropped in to see what was being done. And then I found Kim through Facebook and found the local group here and realized it was just down the street from my house. So we played semi-regularly every couple of weeks or something back then, and then in like up until the pandemic happened, we were playing basically weekly.
Yep.
In person with 3 to 5 people depending on what was going on. So it was a fairly small group here in Toronto. The big group in Canada is really the group that Laurier plays with, which is out in the Ottawa and Gatineau area, which is just on the other side of the border there in Quebec. There's 2 regular play groups out there. One plays on Mondays and one plays on Thursdays, and there's probably maybe somewhere between 10 and 15 regulars between the 2 groups. And that's probably the biggest scene in Canada. There's another scene that Matt plays at in Calgary, and I think they have like a 5 to 7 group of people. And there's some casual folks that play out in Vancouver every once in a while. But it's pretty spread out. So although in the last, I guess I was going to say in the last few months, but now it's almost June. So earlier this year, through the DM North website, we've had a couple of people in the Toronto area reach out saying that they were interested in playing, and we were trying to coordinate, some learn to play events and things like that when the pandemic hit. So we had to postpone all of that. So when things start opening up again and it's safe, then I'm going to be looking to reach back out to those folks and see if they're still interested in playing. And we'd be happy to get together and teach them, because the more people that play, the better.
Yeah. Well, and since no formal plans can be made right now for anything, right? But is there legitimate interest in truly getting back together for personal, in-person play?
For me, there is, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Getting a way to play locally was a time away of some mommy time alone. Just leaving the house and just having to, do my own thing and what I enjoy doing. It was a big thing for me. So yeah, definitely going out and playing again in person. I would definitely still do that.
Online is great. And I would definitely recommend anyone that has access to a computer and a webcam or even a phone and a tablet come online. And lots of people would be happy to show you how to do that and help you through it if you're interested. It's a great substitute if you don't have a local scene, and it's a great thing to do if you don't have an option, right? There's lots of people that play this game that were like Kim. They played by themselves, or they like it and they had one friend that played it and that friend moved away, or that friend, whatever, had a life event and isn't playing right now, and they're by themselves and they don't have anyone to play with. Online is great for that. It gets everybody together and you still have, conversation. You can still build rapport. You can still play a great game of Dice Masters. But getting out in person and going to the game store and interacting with other people, and for me, it's trying to show other people the game to encourage them, which is harder to do online, to find someone to teach online than it would be to do in person.
Well, do you guys have any initial plans or thoughts about really what you guys would do for in-person events when they can be held? Or is that too far hoped for to even think about yet?
Kim is the master of our themes.
Yeah, well, every week we try to come up with a different theme that you build your team around, whether it be golden or modern. But I know Justin loves modern, so
if I can build it in modern, I'm going to build it in modern.
Yeah, 90% of the time it's modern. I may throw in golden in there, but Justin would probably build modern, as she said. And then we do have events. I mean, the one big weekend last year, we did organize that locally. And any other events that the store that we play at, it's like a board game cafe slash what is it, escape rooms they also have there. So they usually have like a community day for all the people who play their different games there. They would have a big main event, and we participated in that before, where we teach people how to play Dice Masters. We've drafted in that. I think it was X-Men when we did that. And just for people to come out, learn the game, hopefully get some new players, and just have some fun. So there's that type of events too that we participate in as well. And I know there's like some people who play not too far, like London and stuff, and we try to reach out to other people through Facebook or whatnot that do play the game. I do have the group to come out for those events, and hopefully we can attract some more people. But I know a lot of people are probably 45 minutes to an hour away. Like Rob, he comes down, and cheaper for him. He takes an hour to get down to where we play, and he comes every week. And I know you guys hold some stuff there as well, near him. And, we'll make the trip out there as well, so.
Yeah, we're trying to build a community. So Rob lives east of Toronto, and we live west of Toronto. So we've been trying to build a community on the east side of Toronto as well. So prior to COVID, we were running a once-a-month event over there on either a Saturday or a Sunday to try and get some more people. We did have a bit of a group invested there for a little bit, but it was like a family. And then sort of life got busy for them and they weren't able to come out. So we're hoping to coordinate something when the pandemic's over. But we've got a great game store out there, Comic Book Addiction in Whitby, Ontario. They run a bunch of HeroClix events. Of course, they do Magic. Everybody does Magic. They do Pokemon. And, now we run the Dice Masters for them. And they used to be the Dice Masters place. That's where a lot of the WKOs were held when WKOs were still a thing. So they have a connection with WizKids, and they're happy to help us. They just need somebody to, come in and coordinate. So we're happy to do that. We just have to bring the people in. So the more you're there, the more people are interested, and eventually it's consistency. People will see you there week after week or month after month and say, well, what is this game that you're playing? Right? Show it to me, teach it to me. And we all know how addictive this game is.
Yeah. Well, so with that then, like, you guys don't. I'm projecting here and asking you, am I interpreting your feelings right? You guys don't feel like you're really starting from scratch then, to rebuild from after this pandemic, or would it really be more of, you know what, let's just start from scratch on what the game can be for playing it in those communities that you could build?
I think that there's an element of that. Kim, what do you think?
Yeah, like honestly, I just see myself just jumping right back into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's back
Like
to
it
the
never left.
norm, I get. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't think about it like kind of starting all over again. The only thing is just I think one thing is that we just need to try to get people to come out and play or learn the game, right? I think that's a big advertising thing. Um, and also finding out who's out there that does play the game but doesn't have a local group to come play, right? I think
Yeah.
we have to start reaching out where we can more. But I think it would just be a dive right into it for me. I don't see us really going backwards on it or starting from the beginning again.
Yeah, and anytime we have a new player, and one of the things we always do with our events is we make sure that our event announcements say, if you're new, don't worry about the theme. Just bring what you've got, right? Or if you don't have anything and you want to learn, we have extras. So, we've done that before where people have come in, they don't have anything, they're interested in the game, and we say, okay, well, here, you play my team, and I will sit here and coach you, right? Or, things like that. So, that might be my night that week, or Rob's night that week, or Kim's night that week. One of us sits out while we teach someone else to play. And that's cool, right? Because we just want more people to play this game.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I can understand that. I just really wish that in the St. Louis area, I feel like that, well, as every place right now, with everything shut down, so to speak, that it really would be a rebuild from scratch, truly. And it kind of is a little sad that I think that way, because not that there was anything truly special going on here in compared to, other parts of the United States, with Southern California, Detroit, Ohio, Florida, Texas, just everywhere. But I really do think that we would have or that a playing personal in-person games in the greater St. Louis metropolitan area would be a real start from scratch after the pandemic opens things up for us.
So I think the advantage that we have, if that is the case, is draft packs, right? Because you can take a draft pack, you can sit down with a couple of people, read some cards, and learn to play a game.
Yep.
Right? And I think that is going to potentially help, as opposed to here you have to spend, $40 on a campaign box and, $12 each on these 2 team packs, and then you'll have enough to play. So yeah, with a draft pack you won't have sidekicks, but how many players are going to be there that have a zillion extra sidekicks, right?
Yeah.
Craig, you've been playing this since AVX. Do you have any idea how many sidekicks you own?
No.
A lot, right?
Yeah.
So, I always take, whenever I go to an event, I always bring extra basic actions and extra sidekicks, just in case there's somebody there that wants to play and doesn't have stuff, right? And I'm sure there's always a player or two at a store that does that. And getting those draft packs in play will be helpful. And I think if you can get someone who maybe, I like to think about Magic players. And I don't play Magic. I have never played Magic. However, I do know that it is an expensive game to play, and I hear lots of people talking about it being a pay-to-play game. You need to pay the money to get the expensive cards, right? But there are similar mechanics in Magic as there are in Dice Masters. So you might be able to get some of those people that might be disenfranchised with Magic and say, hey, you can get into Dice Masters for a heck of a lot less money than you can Magic, right?
And have a complete set, right, with the campaign boxes and teams.
And you still get to build teams, and you don't have to, I don't know how many cards are in a Magic deck. 40, maybe?
50. I have no idea.
I have no
Yeah.
idea. Craig, you've played Magic. How many cards are in a Magic deck?
Yeah. Well, and 40, I think, was the number for drafting. You had to have 40 cards, but I truly never. I only played Magic truly casually.
Yeah.
Because that is the cliche generator of all gaming, right? When you're young, you don't have enough money to really afford to play games, and then when you're older, you don't have enough time to really play games, right? Because that's what Magic kind of caused people to think about. But I don't know, Dice Masters just seemed like that perfect balance of being able to afford, and there had seemed to have been in the past plenty of opportunities to play, so.
Yeah, and I think it's just very creative, Dice Masters. There's so many different strategies, and as they continue to develop new keywords and new abilities and new control methods, and then bring back some, that I didn't play with, but I know they're going to be coming back because they were in previous sets, right? There's reprints of abilities on new cards or updates to abilities. If we think about the WWE, is it The Rock that has a sacrifice a sidekick or sacrifice a character to purchase something for less, which is similar to that Blue Eyes White Dragon, but that was KO a sidekick or KO a character to purchase something for less.
Right.
So there's, updating of abilities, there's reprinting of abilities, but then they also bring in these cool new things that we're still learning how they work. I'm a big fan of Energize, that new keyword that's come out. I think that's really fun, and I know there's more Energize stuff coming in Infinity Gauntlet. So that'll be pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I truly didn't know with seeing the Energize in our, X-Men Forever, right? That campaign box and the 2 draft packs. But then I didn't think that there was really any Energize in D&D or WWE. I thought that...
There isn't, but there will be in Infinity Gauntlet when it comes out.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
okay.
And that's cool because sometimes they come out with keywords and maybe they don't quite work or what have you. Like I think about Suit Up, right? Suit Up kind of just existed in that Iron Man War Machine team pack, starter kit, whatever we called that one. Didn't really fly. Or I think about Frag from Warhammer 40K, which I still wish I could make work. I wish it was better than it was. But I just don't think it is. I don't think if Nick Wally can't make it work, then who can? Come on. So
Well, and guys, because you are still experiencing the game, you're still playing the game right now, which I hope to be again with people in person. But I thought there was a keyword in the current campaign boxes where if you play a basic action die, a character becomes, unblockable. Like they have a keyword.
Yeah, obscure.
Obscure.
Yeah.
So has obscure been impactful to the game? Is that something that people are really working with?
I think it has. I think obscure could have legs. The problem against it right now is what we're seeing, at least in the online meta, is that there's a lot of overcrush and combat damage happening, which means that a lot of people are coming with Static Field Global or Kate Bishop Global to prevent, to push a character back from attacking, right? Target character die is no longer attacking.
Yeah.
So that
worst thing for obscure, yeah.
Worst thing for obscure, worst thing for big overcrush characters. Now there's some new control that's come out. You've got Istrid Horn in the Dungeons and Dragons set that when she's fielded, she can name a global ability and no one can use it for that turn. So that can help with something like that. Or there's the Eddie Guerrero, which is from the WWE set, that when he attacks, he moves all of the energy in your opponent's reserve pool to their use pile. So there are some ways around that, but again, you've got to build that control into your team and coordinate it so that you have that person either attacking or fielded the turn that you want to run in and do your big push.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of the game, is that those possibilities are still there.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so much fun.
And direct damage is still a thing. So, as Kim can attest to, when she was practicing for her 2-team takedown team, I was playing a nasty version of an Iceman Godcatcher build. And although Magic Missile is gone from Modern, and with Wand, which is a little bit more balanced, you have to pay a life when you use the global ability. As long as you're doing 2 damage to your opponent for every 1 life you lose, you're still winning. And you put a Throne Brick on there, and that does damage, or you threw in a Attune character on there, and you hit your own Iceman with the Attune. There's still some pretty feasible Iceman teams out there, and there's also a Jubilee, I think, from the X-Men Forever. There's one that does attacking for bolt characters, and one that does fielding. When you field her, she does 2 damage. Mm-hmm. So there's still some direct damage out there, and not a lot of control against that.
Yeah.
So, not yet. I think there's some coming. But again, the spoilers I'm not super up to date on.
Yeah. Well, so then how willing are you to prognosticate on the July release date of Infinity Gauntlet?
Extraordinarily hopeful.
Okay.
I do know from what we've heard Jimmy say, I think it was either on the CR Game Room YouTube channel or DM Armada's YouTube channel, because he's been on both recently talking about Infinity Gauntlet. In one of those interviews, he said that Infinity Gauntlet is in the US. So it's in the warehouse, is my understanding. So it's just a matter of distribution reopening up so that they can ship.
Okay.
So that makes me very hopeful, if I'm remembering that right.
Yeah.
That's only a month and a half. Doesn't it usually come out mid-July? Usually mid of the month.
Well, it comes out whenever they tell us it comes out.
October. No.
So if things continue to open up, and if the pandemic is continued to be in a controlled way, if that they're able to do that, then I think the product will ship.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess it's just a matter of, will there still be game stores to ship it to?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But
so have either of you looked at the WizKids online store that they just opened up?
I have not.
Nope.
Okay. So that's not gonna be that impactful for what you guys think will happen with releasing the Dice Masters?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the store. I looked at their previous store because they had sort of store before, but that wouldn't ship to Canada. They didn't ship to Canada then. I don't know if they do now.
Yeah. Well, and that's where there was a merchandise store that sold like T-shirts, sweatshirts, things that were, I'll call it promotional items for HeroClix, WizKids, Dice Masters, HeroClix, Attack Wing, whatever. But now they have a online store that's the real game products. And so, in checking that out, I haven't really seen anything that would indicate that the Infinity Gauntlet Dice Masters is going to be readily available, anytime beyond what they've talked about for just general July. But would you guys buy Dice Masters directly from WizKids then? Or would you really stay with buying it from your local game stores?
If the local game stores could still provide it to us, I will still go with the local game store.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Just because of being U.S. money, and then the shipping on top of that ends up being a lot more for us.
And I have bought Dice Masters online before, not through WizKids, obviously, but through there's a Canadian game distributor that sells Dice Masters. So I was looking for an extra copy of Infinity, I think, Avengers Infinity campaign box. and maybe a team pack or something that I was having trouble getting my hands on. So I have ordered online from distributors before, um, but I would prefer to order it through the game store if I can.
Yeah.
They support us, right? Our game store that we play at in Mississauga, Decode Adventures is the name of the escape room part, and then the gaming cafe is called Showdown Gaming Cafe, which is in the back. You know, they have us in there every week, and they, you know, have a reduced rate for us because we're playing Dice Masters, and they order in the promos for us, and you know, they've been fantastic to us, and they keep their prices reasonable. And as long as that continues to be the case, then I want to continue to buy from them.
Yeah. No, perfect. That sounds like a great situation.
Yeah, we need to support the store, right?
Yeah.
We need to have stores to play in.
Absolutely.
And places to interact.
Yeah.
And I think that when this is over, and this is just my rose-colored glasses showing here, but we're already seeing people want to be out more, right? They're sick of being stuck at home. And I don't know if you're seeing that in St. Louis, Greg, but here, you know, people are getting outside because the weather's nicer, and you're seeing people try and leave their homes more because they're just sick of being at home after being home for 10 months. And I think that people might be more engaged and interested in going out and playing a game in a store if they know it exists. So to Kim's point, if we can connect with the people and create awareness, then we might be able to get them to, because they're sick of being at home. They're done watching television. They can't watch any more Netflix. You know, they want it. They want an escape from their house, and the game store could be that for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I would expect that to be a condition here for St. Louis, because our pandemic response or phase of reopening has really come to a point where the shops are open now, but they have all still posted and continue to let people know that the gaming areas, or the real, you know, areas to play with, are still closed within their shops, so that, you know, people can buy the products they want, be able to shop, but not really stay in the store to play. But I think once those areas can open up and do open up, I think they'll be full. I think people really will get together again to play.
Yeah, I think so. There's online is great, and I think that we're big proponents of online at DM North and here on the podcast, but there's nothing like going in person and meeting people, right? Like, that was one of the big things that I found at Worlds, because like I mentioned, there was lots of people that I knew, and some of them I knew their face, like Ross and Steven, because they show their face on their channels, right? Ross streams on Twitch, and DM Armada puts out videos on YouTube's Steven. But other people I only knew from their voice and their fingers. I'm like, I recognize those hands. I see them roll dice, you know? And it was really interesting for me to go to Memphis and do that, because I found it was like I was at a reunion of people that I knew well and was good friends with, but I never actually had met them before.
Yeah.
Right? We'd only met through the computer, through online, through conversation. And that was actually the first time I even met Matt. I'd never met Matt before that. We'd only ever interacted online. I had met Laurier, of course, at Canadian Nationals in 2018, but I'd never met Matt, and I'd never met so many of those other people, but I knew them, and I had built relationships with them online, and now that relationship is more personal because we've met in person, and it gives an extra layer.
Yeah. Well, so if things go very well with us for the world, Kim, would you go down to Memphis if they hold the event in October? Because you have a family situation, right? You have a real life.
It's a bit tougher. I mean, with a 4-year-old and traveling. I would have to go, like, going to Canadian Nats was easy because I just missed it like one night, right? It was just one night I spent there and I came home the day of. So it wasn't big of a thing. But 3-day weekends, I would have to really convince my husband to go on a holiday there. And hopefully there would be stuff there for my son to do so he can keep him occupied while I'm playing. Um, but I don't think I could, if that happens, I don't think I could do a 3 days with Dice Masters and not spend time with them, right? So it's just the families. It's a little tough for me. And I feel so bad leaving with like 3 nights or whatever it may be without by myself kind of thing, right? So I'm leaving him here. So it'll have to be I really have to convince my husband.
Well, start looking into it, Kim. See what kid-friendly activities that you could do with Noah, and see what's out there. And because Memphis was a pretty cool city, there was some cool stuff there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably stuff that they can do.
There's kids in Memphis. There must be kid-friendly things to do. There must be like a zoo and aquarium, and who knows? There's got to be stuff.
I'm sure there is.
I didn't research the kid-friendly things.
Yeah.
When I went, there were lots of Pokemon stops. I know Noah likes his Pokemon.
Yep.
You can get him to, catch Pokemon and take him to Elvis's house.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Kim. I mean, it's not even really a question. You just have to raise him to be an Elvis fan by starting him off in Memphis at 4 years old, and let him see Graceland.
He loves music, so maybe I should start playing some Elvis music and see what he takes to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get to take him on the planes if you do the tour. The planes are pretty cool.
Oh, like the tour of
Elvis's planes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Graceland actually, I had never visited before. People in my family had been, and I was really impressed with Graceland as a whole. I thought that the complex that they have there, it was really nice. It was impressive to see all of the memorabilia and everything that they had. So it was a great trip.
It was really cool.
Yeah. So Jocelyn, it's a for sure for you if the world works out well then, or
I can't for sure anything because of work and what might happen with the rest of the year. But I would say if it's possible, I would really like to go again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but we'll have to see what work brings because, my work typically has me traveling. I visit stores and manage teams. And I haven't been able to do that. So we'll have to see what the rest of the year looks like and build that out. So hopefully if the world permits, if the pandemic permits, then I would like to attend again. I certainly had a really great time, and it's great to play Dice Masters with all of you folks, and then maybe you and I can finally get a game in, Craig.
Yeah, I'd be more than willing.
I'll find a draft, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Oh, well, thanks so much for joining us, Craig. We really appreciate having you on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys letting me do this by you guys making all the effort. I am so sorry about it.
Hey, I look at this as a break because you did most of the question asking today. So this was really, special guest Craig on a double in dice.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. I was just going to say thank you for having us on your podcast, Craig. That's what it feels like. Yeah. It feels like we're your guests. So no, but that was awesome, and we really appreciate it. So on that note, everyone, please, if you liked this episode, If you liked our special guest Craig here, please drop us a line at triple-d-podcast@dm-north.com. You can find us on Facebook or on our website, dm-north.com. We have Twitter. Apparently we do have Instagram, Kim. I don't know if there's anything on it, but it exists. So, and then you can also find us on Twitch now, where we stream some of our games, twitch.tv/DicemastersNorth. So check us out there, send us a line, drop us an email, send us a message. We accept carrier pigeons, whatever you've got in this time of the pandemic. And until next time, on a double and dice.
Wait, 1 second. We're not quite done yet. One last thing before we go. We just wanted to ask for your feedback. We are currently working on an upcoming podcast episode, and as part of that episode, we need your feedback. So we've got a Google form all set up, and some of you have already filled it out, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. But if you haven't filled it out yet, it's a quick 4-question survey. We'd really appreciate it. You can find it in our show notes here. It's in a link on our dm-north.com podcast episode blog as well. And also on dm-north.com, there's a link that says we need your feedback. So please go in, complete the form, give us a little bit of your thoughts, and we're going to be using the summary of that in an upcoming episode. So we'd really appreciate it if you could do that. Thank you so much. And again, until next time, on a double and dice.
Bye.